Ambition, competence, and courage. Three invaluable traits to anyone seeking to expand the boundaries of mankind's capabilities, to venture into the areas of the uncharted and the unexplored, to discover and establish new frontiers, in the hopes of pushing our race forward and alter our understanding of the unknown. These admirable qualities have for millennia been the driving factor behind our race's perseverance and survival. However, with ambition comes the potential for greed. Greed leads to the sacrifice of competence, and when the competent no longer dictates the path forward, courage will become arrogance, and the inevitable results will always be catastrophe. Hubris, the act of mankind's arrogance, defying divine justice by crossing an invisible boundary of immorality, either through dishonesty, deception, or pure greed. Whether the subject is polluting the very air we breathe, the water we drink, the crops we grow, or the food we ingest, the ultimate fate of our race seems to be stuck in a perpetual cycle of hopeless pollution and waste of resources, again and again failing to learn from our past, doomed to repeat the same mistakes over and over. However, by the 25th century, the cycle would finally be broken. Unfortunately, it wasn't through a technological breakthrough or a sudden change in the worldwide consensus. No, humanity would reach the end of the road, as Earth, overpolluted, stripped of natural resources, and far beyond saving, had finally lost its ability to sustain mankind. As the intense pollution from global industries saturated the atmosphere of the planet, the stages of global warming were heavily accelerated. Like rats on a sinking ship, the population of Earth was forced to watch as the seas and oceans rose, flooding coastal cities and agriculture, triggering billions of climate refugees around the world to leave their homes and venture further inland where the water wouldn't reach them, slowly tipping the scales of desperation towards hopelessness. Humanity was plunged into civil unrest, with nations fighting over control of the last salvageable resources. These conflicts would claim the lives of an untold amount of people and would be named the Resource Wars. From 2484 to 2508, the wars would rage among mankind, threatening the very existence of the human race, as each state desperately clawed away, fighting with teeth and nails to secure the remaining natural resources. It was clear that mankind needed a drastic and immediate solution before it would tear itself apart under its own weight, and it was here, in the most dire times of need, in what looked like humanity's final hour, that a solution finally presented itself. As Earth no longer had anything to offer in terms of resources, mankind looked to the stars. Here, among the infinite planets hidden within the vast void of cold darkness and space, mankind would find all the resources they would ever need. Committed to saving themselves from the lost cause of Earth, humanity put one last-ditch effort into creating their own salvation, and through this effort, a new project was born, the creation of a new type of spaceship, unlike anything the world had ever seen before. These ships would be incomprehensibly massive and immensely powerful, large behemoths that would be the very pinnacle of humanity's ingenuity and technological prowess, constructed with the sole purpose of mining the very essence of other terrestrial bodies, the planet crackers. Armed with nothing but hope and the best of technology mankind had to offer, the planet crackers took to the stars. Operating as a two-part operation, the planet cracker itself would be in geosync orbit above the designated planet, while a large crew consisting of hundreds of engineers, surveyors, and scientists would operate planetside, establishing a colony responsible for creating a so-called gravity tether. The gravity tether would be a large circular belt constructed on the surface of the planet, often with a radius of up to 1 kilometer across. In this belt, miners would carve a deep ring-like shape into the surface, and anchors would be drilled into the planet around the ring. The top part of these anchors would communicate with and lock onto the planet cracker in orbit above. Upon initiation, an immensely powerful beam of energy would be established, effectively linking the two together. The massive force of pull generated from the spaceship, in combination with the gravity anchors and the deep carvings into the ground, would pry apart Earth and rocks and crack open the planet, breaking off a massive piece of the surface. This would be referred to as popping the cork. The massive piece of the planet would be hauled off into space, where it would be mined and stripped of any valuable resource. These resources would be smelted, cataloged, and stored before eventually being returned to Earth, who awaited the return of these behemoths with desperate hopes. To call the planet crackers an immense success would probably be the understatement of the century. These massive machines essentially saved Earth and ended the resource war by providing the population of the planet with much needed supplies and resources, enabling the previously doomed planet to persist in a maintainable state of sustained life support. And this is where our story actually begins. For among the planet crackers, created by the Concordance Extraction Corporation, was their flagship, the USG Ishimura. Standing at an impressive length of 1.6 kilometers, with a crew of more than 1,300 people, the Ishimura wasn't only a massive vessel, it was the very first planet cracker to ever be created. The Ishimura had, through its 62 years of service, performed 34 planet cracks, making it not only the oldest planet cracker in service, but also the vessel with the highest performance count in terms of resource gathering, an achievement that earned the Ishimura the nickname as Savior of Earth. However, when scheduled to commence planet crack number 35, it would seem that the Ishimura and its crew would need a savior of their own. Aegis VII, a restricted planet in a restricted system, several million light years from Earth, a distance so vast, so incomprehensible that it would boggle even the greatest of minds. Here, in this odd place so inconceivably far from Earth, the Ishimura would arrive to commence its 35th planet crack. But why? Why here? An untold number of planets would be closer to Earth than this one. Why would the Ishimura break the governed laws of space and venture so far away to mine for simple minerals and ore? Reasonable questions that most people would probably ask themselves. However, those are questions for later. In orbit around Aegis VII, procedures would continue as normal. This wasn't exactly the Ishimura's virgin journey. The crew was seasoned, well experienced, and though having operated past the legal work quotas in space, they were determined to get the job done as usual. On the surface of Aegis VII, a colony was established, tasked with setting up the belt for the gravity tethers which would pull the planet crack. However, as a small team of surveyors ventured out to do a routine analysis of an unusual amount of seismic activity on the surface of the planet, they would find something odd. In a small impact crater very close to the colony, the veteran crew would immediately recognize industrial chemical weathering on the surfaces of the rocks and cliffs. Identifying both the drilling angle and the scarring of the drill pattern, one of the younger crew members noted that the marks looked to be man-made, specifically done by an E-34 drilling rig, to which the two more seasoned crew members retorted that not only was the planet they were on unexplored, millions of light years from Earth, but that the E-34 drilling rig had been out of service for almost 150 years. However, this relatively benign routine check performed by this small survey team would cause an unforeseen ripple effect, initiating an unstoppable chain of events, as they, unbeknownst to them at the time, would be the tiny gears that set the giant wheels of destiny in motion as they, in the middle of this mysterious crater, discovered something with endless cataclysmic potential, something that would alter the very fate of mankind. Hey there, Hazmat here. This was only part 1 in the story of Dead Space 1 and Aegis VII, so make sure to stay tuned for more. As always, a big thanks goes out to the Hunters Lounge on Patreon, specifically Jacob, Derivative, The Loaf of Bread, Sir Bottoms, Corey Peterson, Tom Hengst, Dominic Carlos, Tim Wright, Jane Doe, Ghosty, Garrett Baker, Gabe Benavides, Riz TB, Claire and Leon, Nightingale Far, Nebula, and Stas Biestic. The Patreon page does not only support me as a creator, they also help me decide on future content, and you can join it for a single $1 a month. Link is in the description below. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you in the next one.